I've been speaking all this while. I am sorry. I hope everybody is good. Jeez. I didn't unmute. I apologize. But we're here on YouTube. We're here on TikTok. That's beautiful. Thank you very much for power tapping. Thanks to Empress One Day. Thank you, My Reality. Thanks everyone for liking the live. Thank you for sharing. Omobag Ẹkáàbọ, good to see you. Mr. Bamdele Adegoroye Ekushel, thank you very much for joining us. Lovely to have you here. Thank everyone for being part of today's session. It's a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. The sun is out. There's some people that I think the summer is ending in some parts of the world, but it's a beautiful day. All right. So today we're discussing Achebe, Meritocracy or Nepotism, the truth about Igbo dominance. I'm going to tell you about it in a second. Let me just change this background. All right. So that's the title. Achebe, Meritocracy or Nepotism, the truth about Igbo dominance. So there's a book that was the very last book that was published by Achebe. He made certain statements, and essentially what he was saying is Nigeria has somehow marginalized the Igbos and looked down on everybody, and their ethnic group, and therefore therefore Nigeria is not progressing. In other words, the reason we're not making progress is because of the way, the way Nigerians treated folks from the southeast. And then he went on to say that, back in the day where meritocracy was an in thing, they progressed and they did so well, and that right now everybody's just mediocre and things like that, and that's why we're not making progress. Now, when you hear that, you probably think that the person talking has a point. Well, I'm here to tell you that it doesn't. And you don't have to take my word for it. We're going to listen to the whole thing together, and then you can decide, what to believe, right? At least based on facts, right? So this video, the first part is on the YouTube channel. The second part is not uploaded yet, but it's ready, so you'll be able to listen to it. The first part is about 25 minutes, 52 seconds, and then the other part is almost 1 hour. So we're in for a lovely treat today. All right, so I want you to enjoy it, but please share the live, right? And thank you for getting up to 7.5K. This is fantastic. We've not even started at all, and we are here. And I want to thank everybody that liked the live and dropped their heart to me and all those fantastic things, like User and My Reality and Empress. Thank you so much. All right. Also, please click on the heart icon like Empress did and like My Reality did. Please click on the heart icon beside the name Busui Oris on TikTok and drop a heart to me. These things help the live so that other people can see what we're doing on the FYP. But for the things we've done so far, let me clap for us. All right. Thank you very much. So this is about setting the record straight. Again, I should be very clear that these sessions are not, organized to denigrate anybody, but it's important that we set the record straight, especially because we've been made to feel like we are doing something wrong or that we have to apologize for something our parents did and things like that. And we're discovering that our parents didn't even do anything, right? And those who are projecting are the ones who actually have that as their reality. But before we get into it, let me read the description of the video itself, and then we'll listen to the first part. Once that is done, we'll move on to the second part, all right? Okay, so here goes. Achebe once wrote in There Was a Country that Nigeria has failed to progress because the Igbos have not been allowed to thrive. The suggestion is that without Igbo dominance, the nation is stuck in mediocrity, and that what we need is a return to the so-called meritocracy they claim existed when they controlled the civil service. Let's be clear. The Igbos did dominate the civil service in the early years, but it was not meritocracy. It was nepotism in full swing, pure and simple. To dress that up as fairness or brilliance is rewriting history. Nigeria belongs to all its peoples, and every group is free to thrive. But we must not allow ourselves to be blackmailed by a victim mindset that confuses domination with equity and nepotism with merit. All right, so that's the description. I kind of like it. I'm sure you're going to like the video itself. All right, so take a listen, share the live, share with everybody on platforms, and yeah, have a wonderful time listening. Cheers. Get there, you make sure that every position is, once you get there, you make sure that every position is filled with your people. And when people say anything about it, you call them tribalists. All right, let me quickly read something to you. How Achebe saw what they did. There's another document I'm going to refer to. It's a white paper on political alignments that was published by the Western Caucus of the NCNC in 1964. That particular white paper is on Radio Me Global and it's free, so you can access it. Well, let me read to you what Chinua Achebe said in his book, There Was a Country. He says here, àwọn people you want to buy ayé àwọn èèyàn jẹ́ o, wọ́n lè ti bà ọkàn àwọn èèyàn jẹ́, wọ́n ti bà ọpọlọ àti ìrònú wọn ti bàjẹ́, they've repeated terrible statements that have destroyed the psyche of the average Igbo person. Let me read you what he says. What he said here. By the way, a lot of lies mixed with propaganda, but I'll read some things to you. Individualism and the adventurous spirit of the Igbo could have been harnessed by committed leaders for the modernization and development of Nigeria. Why can't you harness it by yourself? Nigeria's pathetic attempt to crush these idiosyncrasies rather than celebrate them is one of the fundamental reasons the country has not developed as it should and has emerged as a laughing stock. This is how you see whatever you see today. In other words, the reason Nigeria has not developed is because they have not appreciated the uniqueness of the Igbos. And you see, for instance, on TikTok, I saw one this morning. A clown took a picture from a school in Ghana and then took a picture from his own state, Imo State, Nsukka, and said, "Look at Ghana versus Nigeria." And thankfully, a young chap actually took pictures from Ife, OAU, and put the OAU pictures are even better than the one they brought from Ghana. They use their own frame of reference for the entire nation, but they don't blame their leaders. It's all of us and the leaders of Nigeria. I see Nigeria as one abstract. The leaders are abstract as long as it doesn't involve their own. But anyway, let me just read to you. This is from Achebe. This is the best of them. Nigeria's pathetic attempt to crush these idiosyncrasies rather than celebrate them is one of the fundamental reasons the country has not developed as it should and has emerged as a laughing stock. I don't know where. Anyway, the ploy in the Nigerian context was simple and crude. Get the achievers out and replace them with less qualified individuals from the desired ethnic background so as to gain access to the resources of the state. This bizarre government strategy transformed the federal civil service corporations and universities into centers for ethnic bigotry and petty squabbles. Please, listen to the person talking, and then I'll tell you what really happened. So he's saying here that what Nigeria did was to remove the Igbo people and replace them with folks from other ethnicities so that they could gain access to the resources of the state. And in that way, we now start experiencing ethnic bigotry and petty squabbles. It was in this toxic environment that Professor Eninjoku and Igbo, who was Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, was forced out of office. An exasperated Kenneth Onwuka Dike, an ethnic Igbo and the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, facing similar bouts of tribal small-mindedness, famously lamented during this crisis that intellectuals were the worst peddlers of tribalism. Let me quickly explain what happened to you here. Eninjoku had served his term. So, by the way, Igbos ensured that the VC of UI was an Igbo man, even though there were Yoruba people who were senior, e.g., Professor Ezekiel Oluwasomi. They were senior, but they chose DK. And guess what your people said? They were, I mean, it's Nigeria. We're all one country. In their minds, we're a good people nation. We're all good people and great nation. So they had DK as VC. He was a political thing. So he was the first indigenous VC of University of Ibadan. Was he qualified? Yes. Was he the most senior? No. And I will say this, that he became that because he was Igbo. And guess what? It's politics, so it's okay, right? University of Lagos, another Igbo was put there as a VC. Njoku. But he served his term. And they wanted to change him to Saburi Biobaku, who was in UI, but was not going to become the VC of Unilag. They decided saying that Yorubas were tribalists, academics were tribalists, people were bigots, all those things were happening. And I remember saying the other day, it got so bad that a young man called Kayode Ted Adams took a knife and stabbed Saburi Biobaku. Kayode is Yoruba, from his name you can tell. Saburi Biobaku is Yoruba, but they were able to use their propaganda to wash these stupid people, this stupid guy's head. That somehow Yoruba people were being bigoted and tribalistic by wanting Saburi Biobaku to be the VC of Unilag. So he stabbed him. Thankfully, Saburi Biobaku did not die. But Kayode Williams was taken to court. He said he was insane. So they left him alone. It was a psychological problem. He eventually killed himself at Bar Beach. I don't know if I fish but I hope people get the point. This idea that the idea that one Nigeria should be experimented in Yoruba land is nonsense. Let's try it in other places too. I mean, we've tried. So what he's saying here is that it was a toxic environment that Njoku was forced to leave. This same Njoku, who was the VC of UNLAG, was then made the VC of UNN. My question, how come they didn't have any Yoruba person to become the VC of UNN? Because apparently Yoruba were having professors before the Igbos, right? So since we are not tribalists, why did we have to make sure that the first VC of UNN was Njoku? Listen, I am not against Njoku being there. I'm not even against DK being anywhere. I'm just saying that if something is good for the goose, it should be good for the gander. You can't have this double standard, and then you can do anything you do. You shout, "Oh, we are. What's the word now? We are capable. We are able. We are enterprising. We are this." When somebody does exactly what you are doing, they are tribalists. When somebody doesn't do exactly what they are doing, just asserting or just taking their stance, they are tribalists. Let's continue. It says here, one of the signs I saw of an Igbo backlash came in form of the 1966 publication from Northern Nigeria called The Nigerian Situation, Facts and Background. In it, the Igbo were cast as an assertive group that unfairly dominated almost every sector of Nigerian society. No mention was made of the culture of educational excellence imbibed from the British that pervaded Igbo society and schools at the time. Special attention instead was paid to the manpower distribution within the public services, where 45% of the managers were Igbo, and it is threatening to reach 60% by 1968. You remember the interview by the Sadawana in 1964, the BBC interview, when he was talking about, he knew what he was talking about. Somebody said, I just watched the video about the new Tokumbo stuff. For it, we need structure. Yes, we need structure. That's why I tell people, if you want to chase some people out of your state, don't shout. Don't shout. Don't fight. Don't say, you must leave, you must leave. Don't do that. Just create structure. A people who thrive in dysfunction will be cast out using for structure. Just create structure. They will drop off. It's not about shouting, I hate you, get out of my land. I mean, if we are doing that with all the education we said we have or we claim to possess, what makes us different from the average Joe on the streets? Influence policy, create structure. They will drop by the wayside. They can't handle it. And I'm not mentioning any group, but if the cap fits, wear it with pride. The point is that some people thrive in chaos and dysfunction. Create structure, they just melt away, be waxing in front of fire. That's why I don't join those people that say, I hate you, get out of my land. It's not necessary. Just make sure that there's no piracy. Stop piracy in the movie industry. What do you think happens? What is happening right now in the film industry right now? You know, when this thing was, I was like, oh, at least they were spreading the thing. At least they have a distribution network. But the money was not getting to the creators. No, at least they have creators. Okay. Now that, I mean, what was the last time you bought a DVD? You know, if you pirate something on YouTube, now the same internet will go find you. Create structure. This whole thing about NAFDAC issue, what did Dora Queen Lee do? She created structure. She was almost killed for it, by the way, and she told us who did it. But it's not today's topic. Don't fight people, just create structure. That structure, why do you think Ghanaians are saying that the retail space is only for their citizens? They are creating structure. And they're making it very clear. The retail space is for our citizens. If you want to play in the economy, go into the wholesale bit, in the wholesale section. In other words, get the big money, the big box. Buy things in, wholesale. But when it comes to petty trading and all these things, if you start doing it, what will our own people be doing? You say, oh, he's xenophobic. He's not. They are concerned about their own citizens, as they should. Create structure. Let's continue with Achebe. So he says that the Northerners were saying that they were taking over 45% of the managers were Igbo and in public services, and it is threatening to reach 60% by 1968. Moreover, regrettably, though, the North's future contribution was credited with only 10% of the existing posts. Half of the posts were occupied by Igbos. Service in which 70% of the posts were held by the Igbos. Where am I reading from? Achebe, there was a country. This is a fact. You go see how it goes spin them. I'll come read how the thing happened later. It says half of the posts in Nigerian Railway Corporation is actually more than half were occupied by the Igbos. The Nigerian Ports Authority and the Nigerian Foreign Service, in which over 70% of the posts were held by the Igbos. Probably the pettiest of the accusations was the lamentation over the academic success of Easterners who graduated in large numbers in the 1965-66 academic year than their counterparts from the West, Midwest, and North. By the time the government of the Western region also published a white paper, which is the one I'm going to read very soon, outlining the dominance of the ethnic Igbo in key government positions in the Nigerian Railway Corporation and Nigerian Ports Authority. The situation for ethnic Igbos working in Western Nigeria in particular, but all over Nigeria in general, had become untenable. This government-sanctioned environment of hate and resentment, created by self-serving politicians, resulted in government-supervised persecutions, terminations, and dismissals of Nigerian citizens based on their ethnicity. If you were an Igbo young man and you read this thing, would you not feel that you are hated? Let me finish before I tell you what really happened. In most other nations, the success of an ethnic group as industrious as the Igbo would stimulate healthy competition and a renaissance of learning and achievement. In Nigeria, it bred deep resentment and both subtle and overt attempts to dismantle the structures in place for meritocracy in favor of mediocrity. Foul. There's no meritocracy anything, but algorithm. It says to dismantle the structures in place of meritocracy in favor of mediocrity under the cloak of a need for federal character, a morally bankrupt and deeply corrupt Nigerian form of the far more successful affirmative action in the United States. The denial of merit is a form of social injustice that can hurt not the entire society. The motive for the original denial may be tribal discrimination, but it may also come from sexism, from political, religious, or some other partisan consideration, or from corruption and bribery. It is necessary to examine these various motives separately. It is sufficient to state that whenever merit is set aside by prejudice of whatever origin, individuals, citizens, as well as the nation itself are victimized. That sounds very powerful, Abi. It's absolute nonsense. Achebe just wrote rubbish, and I'll tell you why. If you can, check out the channel. You'll find what I'm about to read right now. You don't have to pay. This is how they gaslight you. Say there's no meritocracy, it's mediocrity. As long as the person is not in power, you are all mediocres. Once he puts his own family inside it, they are there by merit. And by the way, it's always the government that is doing this. It's politicians that are using people. It's not the. It's not. It's the politicians that we should blame. Forget the fact that people are intentionally putting their own family members in every sector. But no, let's blame the politicians. This is what is called rada rada. Umbo, I want to read to you what he was referring to. It's a white paper on political alignment. White paper, the new political alignment in Western Nigeria, was published in 1964. Let me tell you how this whole thing really happened. Let's start with the railway corporation that he mentioned. The party appointed Dr. Ikejani as chairman of the board of directors. He was Onitsha Igbo. Ikejani, by the way, was the one who falsified academic records. He said he went to Toronto University. He said he went to University of Toronto. He had DSc certificates. So they sent people there. They said he did not graduate with any degree like that. He's a doctor. I think he was a pathologist or something like that. But he did not. Maybe he was also a pathological liar. Anyway, the point is that he had no degree. He didn't have the degree he claimed to have. Another day, maybe Monday, I will read to you what really happened, how they found him out, and how Zeke and the rest of them ensured that it was heading UI, board of board of governors or something like that, before they had to talk about removing him. But let me read to you what now happened. So when he left that place, they then made sure that they put him in charge of the Nigerian Railway Corporation. He was in charge of UI. He had falsified, he had fake certificates. They found him out. You know what? There's no need for tomorrow. That tomorrow we'll talk about, we'll continue with what happened in this eastern region. Let's talk about Ikejani for a second. Mumbo. It's here. Take a listen to this. Onwaforizu is the first one. We'll come back to Onwaforizu another time. He's the one that stole money. Was imprisoned, but Azikiwe made sure that he got pardoned. In 1961, for instance, Dr. Okechukwu Ikejani, the pro-chancellor of the University of Ibadan, was caught lying about a certificate he never had. A visiting scholar from the University of Toronto a visiting scholar from the University of Toronto who appeared to be from the same department which allegedly awarded Ikejani's certificate was the first to point out that Ikejani never had that esteemed Doctor of Science degree. Ibadan erupted, and there were calls for Ikejani to resign and be prosecuted. To Azikiwe, who was the head of state, the visitor to the university, and in charge of such appointments, Ikejani was being persecuted because he, Azikiwe, had dared to appoint another Igbo after Francis Ibiam as the pro-chancellor and head of the governing council of a flagship federal university in a non-Igbo region. In particular, when the vice-chancellor was already an Igbo. In other words, the vice-chancellor was Igbo, the pro-chancellor was also Igbo. Before departing Toronto University, where he rightly earned his undergraduate medical degree, Ikejani seduced and frequently unhooked the lovely secretary at the Vice-Chancellor's office until she embossed a Doctor of Science certificate in his name, complete with authentic signatures but with no education behind it. After the Toronto University investigation into the matter, the secretary realized her wrongdoing and quietly accepted her dismissal, but that was Canada. In Nigeria, one of the criteria of eligibility for being considered a national hero was to be a bona fide crook. When Ikejani was forced to finally resign, being a medical doctor, Azikiwe made him whole, like Orizu, by appointing him to the State House as one of his personal physicians. He was not done. Azikiwe then reappointed him again to his former on-field post less than 2 years later. He was still not done. In 1964, Azikiwe decorated him with the National Honor, Commander of the Order of the Niger, CON. pun intended, con, for his service to the nation. This is the meritocracy that Achebe was talking about. So please, guys, understand again, when some people tell you something, just ask them definition of terms. This is what meritocracy means to Gino Achebe. He said, don't leave me. Yes, now he's a con man, commander of the Order of the Niger. If anyone is interested in why Nigeria ended up being a pit latrine of implacable corruption where intelligence cannot assert itself in the conduct of public affairs, the Orizu and Ikejani affair is where to begin. By the way, this is from the news magazine. I'm going to read to you. Should I do it now? Let's stay with Ikejani. We'll come back to Orizu later. There's another book I want to read on Ikejani very quickly. It says, in the time Dr. Ikejani was chairman of the corporation, Mr. Bernard Njoku was a member of the board of the corporation and was appointed by Dr. Ikejani to be the chairman of the promoter corporation. He had served in the humble position of messenger. Some of the candidates to be interviewed for promotion were highly qualified people with good academic standing. It seems to us unwise to have people of limited education on promotion boards. We were told some stories of some of the ridiculous questions that were put by members of some of the selection boards. For instance, Mr. F. Alade, a highly talented officer, was being interviewed for promotion to the post of senior establishment officer by one of Dr. Ikejani's reconstituted selection boards. One of the members asked him, Mr. Alade, wetin make you think you go chop this post? And he answered, sir, in the first instance, I am hungry. Judging from the terrible activities of the promotion boards in the time of Dr. Ikejani, we have concluded that these promotion boards were a mockery. We are of the opinion that promotion board, in order to justify their function, must have on them members of outstanding technical skill and or administrative ability with good educational background and of high integrity. In other words, you can't be a messenger, and with all due respect to messengers, but I mean, that's limited education. You are not going to be the one to appoint the engineer, the establishment officer, but you were a messenger, but you are the chairman of the board, and the only qualification this man had was that he was Igbo. We find that Dr. Ikejani was in the habit of interfering unduly in matters touching recruitment and promotion. In most cases, his interference resulted in people of his own choice being selected for posts for which they were not qualified. One example of this is the case of Miss S.T. Alesumoka, who was appointed as a staff nurse in Port Harcourt. Miss Alesumoka was not qualified for appointment in that she never completed a nursing training at Iyenu Hospital where she had been previously. The corporation did not admit student nurses, but on the instruction of Dr. Ikejani, Ms. Alesumoka was appointed a staff nurse. Dr. Ikejani's letter dated 24th January 1962 and addressed to the medical officer in charge of the railway dispensary Port Harcourt, Exhibit Med 997, reads, quote, bearer is Ms. Alesumoka, reference my letter of today, asking you to employ her as a nurse. A salary scale will be determined when I get back to Lagos, and a correspondence will be addressed to you in this respect, unquote. That is meritocracy. Within 2 years of this lady being employed in a post for which she was not qualified, she was given a scholarship by the corporation to do secretarial studies in the United Kingdom with a view to becoming secretary typist. She and 4 others who were handpicked for scholarships at the same time did not appear before any selection board. The claims of typists in the corporation were never considered. If the corporation needed more secretary typists, they could have advertised for them. In any case, we do not see the need to train secretary typists abroad. In a similar way, Dr. Ikejani caused the appointment of Mr. D.U. Onyeku as a staff nurse. Mr. Onyeku had been Mr. Onyeku had been in the employment of the federal government and was employed by the corporation without the circumstances in which he had left the service of the federal government being investigated. Dr. Kejani set such a bad example that officers of the corporation were only willing to follow. Dr. Fomata, following in the wake of Dr. Kejani, wrote a note to his staff assistant as follows, quote, "Remember the male nurse being sponsored by Mr. Njoku, board member. Kindly minute for PMO about my comment to you that it should be favorably considered for PIV. Please, when PMO comes to consider filling the vacancy, thank you." What was that? Meritocracy. In the course of cross-examination of Mr. Ekpe and Mr. Inoma, it was brought out in evidence that Mr. Ekpe sent notes to Mr. Inoma requesting for the employment of some persons in daily paid jobs. Let's leave this matter and go to what the other book I really wanted to read. This one is just on the way. Why are we doing this? Because we were told that Nigeria has not made progress because they have not allowed Igbos to have everything they wanted to have, and that is, you know, and the way we do things in Nigeria apparently is based on mediocrity. But what he expected us to do was to have meritocracy. So I've been reading to you the definition of meritocracy for a while. Mombo. What I just read. Why are we doing this? Because we were told that Nigeria has not made progress because they have not allowed Igbos to have everything they wanted to have, and that is, you know, and the way we do things in Nigeria apparently is based on mediocrity. But what he expected us to do was to have meritocracy. So I've been. Oh boy. I've been talking. Oh, sorry. I apologize. Sorry, because it's a different format. I didn't know I was muted. Anyway, let me just repeat what I said. So I said you've been listening to Achebe, Meritocracy or Nepotism, the truth about Igbo dominance. That's part 1. It's a video on our YouTube channel. And essentially the idea is to respond to some of the claims in Achebe's book. There was a country, and one of the things I said earlier on is that if an Igbo person, you would be right to feel bad, right? You'd be right to think you're hated, but that's only because that's the only source of information that you have. As soon as you move out of Achebe's rhetoric, you're able to understand what really happened. So for instance, Achebe referenced a book, right? White paper on political alignment. That's what we will be listening to in a bit. But before we go in there, let me just say that the one we just listened to, that's part 1 of Achebe, Meritocracy or Nepotism. The first part that we just listened to, we read from his book, There Was a Country, which, by the way, is a load of propaganda. But again, we'll read it so that we'll understand at least where people are coming from. And then secondly, we read the Commission of Inquiry report on the civil service. That's where you read about the nurses, or the girl that was made a nurse, and the person who was asking an engineer, what to make you think say you go chop this job? And that engineer, Yoruba man, said, "Sir, first of all, I am hungry." It's amazing the kind of people that became Oga just because of ethnicity. And I said the paper we're about to the second part that we're about to listen to right now, you're going to have we're going to listen to the reading of the white paper on political alignment of the Western region. Now, this paper was published in 1964, and it was published by the Western Region Caucus of the NCNC. In other words, they're in the same party. They're all in NCNC, where they discovered that the party has been using everything it had to actually push the agenda, or to help people of a particular ethnicity at the expense of every other person in Nigeria. And when you read Achebe, he referred to the book, oh, there's a white paper, they said this, they said that. But since the white paper is not, in some foreign land, we have it, so we might as well just read it so that we understand if Nigerians were actually right to say that these people were practicing nepotism, or if Achebe was right to call what they were doing at the time meritocracy. So please take a listen to the second part. I'm sure you're going to enjoy yourselves. Please, let's continue power tapping. I know you're enjoying it, but please, we need to keep the live alive. So please power tap as you listen, and also share the live. Thank you very much. Take a listen to the second part. Why are we doing this? Because we were told that Nigeria has not made progress because they have not allowed Igbos to have everything they wanted to have, and that is, and the way we do things in Nigeria apparently is based on mediocrity. But what he expected us to do was to have meritocracy. So I've been reading to you the definition of meritocracy for a while. Mombo, let's read the white paper. This is the white paper that Achebe referred to in his book. So let me read to you about the Kejani. He says here, the party, being NCNC, appointed Dr. Ekejani as chairman of the board of directors, is Onitsha Igbo. In 1960, the corporation wanted to fill the post of deputy general manager. There were 3 officers available to choose from. There was Mr. N.A. Kuforiji, Yoruba, who at the time of the vacancy was assistant general manager, staff, and Messrs. F.A.O. Phillips and J.C. Egbuna in order of seniority. But strangely enough, the corporation bypassed Kuforiji and Phillips to appoint Mr. Egbuna, an Onitsha man, who has since been appointed general manager of the corporation. Again, there was the vacancy for principal officer, staff and administration. The candidates available were D.A.A. Adebiyi, who was then senior labor relations officer, D.A.O. Rogers, E.E. Ekpe, S.O. Oke, and F.M. Alade, all establishment officers in order of seniority. The corporation skipped Messrs. Adebiyi and Rogers, both Yoruba, to appoint Mr. Ekpe to the post. Hold your breath, brother. We haven't gone halfway yet. By the way, this document was put out by NCNC members in the Western region. This is not action group against NCNC. This is Yoruba NCNC seeing that these guys have used the party machinery to push an ethnic agenda. And this is what they called meritocracy. So he says here, hold your breath, brother. We haven't gone halfway yet. The corporation had room for a deputy assistant general manager staff, for which there were 3 candidates in order of seniority. Messrs. D.A. Adebiyi, F.M. Alade. The 2 men superseded for the post we have just dealt with, and E.A. Imokwede were lined up. Again, the corporation ignored Adebiyi and Alade and chose the man at the bottom of the ladder. 5 men applied for the vacant post of training and education officer. In order of seniority and qualifications, they were R.A.A. Junaid, senior assistant works manager, T.O. Grillo, S.M.O. Denloye, A.O. Adewoyin, and A.N. Nnoma. The first 4 candidates, who happened to be Yoruba men, were thrown off in favor of Mr. Nnoma, an Igbo man. All this happened in the management sector of the corporation. Let's go through the story in the secretary's department. There was a post of Deputy Secretary Legal to be filled. Mr. Megwa LLB vied for this post, but as usual, it was brushed aside for Mr. NC Ikejiani, brother of, guess who? Brother of Dr. Ikejiani, chairman of the corporation. This is what Achebe was calling. Again, I know I'm repeating meritocracy just to let us understand. Anytime you're talking to people in Nigeria, ask them to define what the terms mean, or else. So they put Megwa by the side and put Ikejiani's brother. Mr. Megwa has been assistant secretary since 1960, but Mr. Ikejiani, who superseded him, was brought in by direct appointment in 1962. Brother, this is the railway corporation's own sense of justice and fair play. There is still further evidence of tribalism and nepotism in all their nakedness. The post of hospital superintendent was open to 3 men, to wit, in order of seniority, Dr. S.E.A. Ewa, railway medical officer since 1958, Dr. S.O. Ejiwumi, a railway medical officer since May 1960, and Dr. D.B.A. Ofomata, medical officer July 1960. The corporation bypassed Doctors Ewa, Efik, and Ejiwumi, Yoruba, and went straight to the bottom of the ladder to pick Dr. Ofomata, Igbo. In the operating and commercial department, the corporation wanted to appoint an acting district superintendent, for which there were 3 officers in order of seniority. Messrs. S.A. Omishore, Yoruba, senior traffic commercial officer since 16 December 1960. T.S. Agbabiaka, Yoruba, traffic commercial officer since 16th December 1960. And E.O. Agosiobo, Igbo, who became traffic commercial officer on 22nd May 1962. They were considered eligible. The corporation brushed aside both Mr. Omishore Yoruba and Mr. Agbabiaka Yoruba for Mr. Agosiobo Onitsha Igbo. The story is the same in the mechanical department. Once, there occurred a vacancy for a work superintendent in this department. Messrs. H.A.A. Junaid, AMI, MEC-E, T.C. Grillo, S.I. MEC-E, SNC Ogbo, AMI MEC-E, and NN Obinwa were put forward for the job in order of seniority, which went to NN Obinwa Igbo, who thus superseded his own Oga, Messrs. Ogas Junaid, Grillo, and Ogbo. Having failed to get this job, Messrs. Junaid and Grillo again tried for the post of production engineer, which alas was given to another child of the bedchamber by name SNC Ogbo, Igbo. He thus superseded Junaid and Grillo, both of whom have been senior assistant works manager since 1960. In 1962, Mr. Obinwa, who was made to supersede 3 senior officers for the post of work superintendent, was again appointed acting deputy chief mechanical engineer over another 3 senior officers, Messrs. B. Ajose Yoruba and T.I. Awoshika Yoruba. This list is long. It's a list of 63 positions. I'll read like the first 10, then I'll read the conclusion. That the post of chairman is held by an Igbo. The next powerful post, that of general manager, held by an Igbo. Their 2 private secretaries are Igbo. The assistant general manager is an Easterner. Deputy assistant general manager an Edoman. The private secretary attached to them is an Igbo. The senior labor relations officer is an Igbo. There are 2 posts of senior establishment officers shared by another Igbo and a Yoruba. There are 15 assistant establishment officers, 9 of them are Igbos. The only post of office superintendent is held by an Igbo. There are 3 stock verifiers, 2 are Igbos. There are 3 senior stock verifiers, 2 of them are Igbos. There's provision for 1 deputy secretary and it is held by an Igbo. 3 senior assistant secretaries, 2 of them are Igbos. Oh boy, this thing is long. Let me just read this conclusion. But I think the reason they wrote it out is that it gives you the real stuff. There's provision for one assistant secretary who is an Igbo. The corporation has 1 public relations officer and is an Igbo. The corporation's senior lands officer is Igbo. The commercial advertising officer is Igbo. The only studio supervisor is Igbo. The only deputy chief accountant is Igbo. There are 16 executive officers. 9 of them are, you can write in the comment section, Igbo. Oh boy. There are 2 senior stores officers, and they are both Igbos. There are 5 district controllers of stores, 3 of whom are Igbos. There are 10 assistant controllers of stores, 5 of whom are Igbos. Actually, it's Igbo, it's IBO. It's not IGBO. The Igbos are a Yoruba subgroup. They are also referred to as Ugbos, and they are present-day Ondo State. The folks in the southeast are Igbo. The pronunciation, the way they pronounce it traditionally in their own language is Igbo. And the best way to spell it is IBO, so that we don't confuse that with the Igbos of Ife or the Igbos who are now in Ilaje. They are now Ilaje people of Ondo State. Those are the Igbo. And on the southeast are Igbo. And like I said, I studied Igbo in secondary school. It's not Igbo, it's Igbo. So we spell it IBO. Thank you very much for understanding. No disrespect, just making sure we are all on the same page. Shall we continue? There are 10 assistant, there are 16 executive officers, 9 of them are Igbos. There are 2 senior stores officers, and they are both Igbos. There are 5 district controllers of stores, 3 of whom are Igbos. There are 10 assistant controllers of stores, 5 of whom are Igbos. Out of the 6 district engineers in the corporation, 4 are Igbos. Of the 10 senior assistant engineers, 4 are Igbos. I mean, everywhere you look, Igbo. Let me just go to somebody wrote in the comment section. That's why I'm reading this other thing. But out of a grand total of 431 names on the current staff list of our railway corporation, 270 are Igbos, 161 belong to other tribes. I need somebody who knows how to use calculator. That's 62.64%. No, 62.65%. Of the railway corporation. 62.65% of the railway corporation was Igbo. And when you now flip it, Achebe is writing that Nigerians do not want to appreciate ingenuity. They are very brave. They are entrepreneurial, and we don't like meritocracy. 62.6%. Not because you are better, but because you are Igbo. If you're looking for the definition of nepotism, connect this with the stuff from Igbo National Caucus. You begin to understand, and connect this with what Oyema said in 45. You begin to understand what's happening. And that's what they said in the same 64 that they published this document, that they're going to try and do it again. So by 1969, they would have cornered everywhere. It's right there in the document. 57 direct senior appointments made by the Nigerian Railway Corporation during the tenure of office of the present chairman, Dr. Kejani. 27 were Igbos, 8 other tribes, and 22 expatriates. In other words, 35 of the 57 were Nigerians, 22 were Oyibos or expatriates, and of those 35, 27, sorry, of those 35, 27 were Igbos, 8 for others. This is not the end of the railway story of tribalism. We hope you remember the disgusting case of Njoku, the brother of the Minister of Transport, under whose portfolio is a railway corporation. You don't? Well, the minister's brother joined the Nigerian Railways as a messenger and retired as a messenger. We woke up one morning only to discover that the Njoku, the retired railway messenger, had been appointed member of the board of the railway corporation, and soon after he became chairman of a staff selection committee and a registered railway contractor. There's also one case of one Okere who is cousin to Dr. Ekejani. The record shows that this man had only class 4 certificate. He was a clerk in the accounts branch of the railway. We know you will be staggered to hear that this fellow is now the Railways Corporation's representative in London. 3 Yorubas who are qualified secretaries are skipped over for the chairman's cousin. Judge, oh ye gods, the horror is not ended yet. Do you know that in addition to being chairman of the Railway Corporation, Dr. Ẹkáàbọ is also a pathological consultant to the corporation at an additional salary of £1,500 per annum. So far, there have been 4 corporation representatives in the United Kingdom. All 4 have been Igbos. Mr. Egbuna, Mr. Egwatu, Mr. Nemgwa, and Mr. Okeke. That's the definition of Achebe's meritocracy. Let's see what the picture looks like in the Port Authority, which is also within the portfolio of Mr. Raymond Njoku, Minister of Transport and member for Owerri. The first thing that strikes one in this department is that barring the chairman and the general manager, the first 25 topmost officers are all Igbos. The chairman is a Northerner, the general manager is a Sierra Leonean, and the secretary of the board is Yoruba. The 1963 staff list of the Ports Authority reveals that, it now mentions them. The acting personal secretary is only senior executive officer, 2 executive officers, Igbo, only assistant executive officer, Igbo, Kiniko, Igbo, port engineer, Igbo. That's what you found. Out of a total of 104 top posts in the Nigerian Port Authority that was domiciled in Yoruba land, 73 are Igbos, 23 are Yorubas, and the remaining 8 belong to other groups. That is about 70% of the total are Igbos, 22% Yorubas, and 7% others. That was in Yoruba land. So we talked about Nigerian Railway Corporation, Nigerian Ports Authority. Let's quickly check Yaba Technical Institute. We now know as Yaba Tech. Now let's have a look at the Yaba Technical Institute and see what the picture portrays. Of a total of 29 indigenous senior members of the staff, 21 are Igbos and 8 Yorubas. The minister in charge of the institution is, of course, Igbo. Am I saying this to say Igbo people are bad? No. I'm just saying that history is even from conjectures. And this all this thing about sob stories, where people just say, oh, they did this to us, they don't like us, and all of them are bad, and they are nepotistic and tribalistic, and they are bad, is because we don't know what really happened. So let's know what really happened. We're not saying everybody from the East is a problem. That's not the point. But the point is, we're not going to forget history and take on the blames that should go to your parents because we want to be one Nigeria. Your parents should own that because they did it. So in the Nigerian Railway Corporation, about 62% we said earlier were Igbos. Nigerian Ports Authority, 70%. In Yaba Tech, there were 29 staff members, 21 were Igbos. Meanwhile, Yoruba had more educated. Jesus is Lord. So, Yaba Tech, 21 out of 29 Igbos. Of course, the minister was Igbo, but he's not nepotist. He's not a nepotistic person. He was doing it based on meritocracy. We shall in due course furnish you with a detailed picture of the very disquieting situation in Ibadan University and the Ibadan Teaching Hospital, where the 2 gentlemen in charge are of Eastern origin. We have been discussing so you have to take over everywhere now. Again, 1944 plan. We have been discussing corporations and institutions, but what about scholarship awards? This particular sphere is highly deplorable and grossly unfair to the Yorubas. Admission of children into free primary schools in Lagos is another example where the indigenous Lagosians are tendenciously discriminated against. Now, the Nigerian Airways. The chairman is Igbo. Before his appointment, he was deputy chairman of the corporation, a post authorized and recognized by the Minister of Transport, who is an Igbo. His predecessor in office was a Yoruba man, And in accordance with equality of distribution of office, one would have thought a Yoruba man would have been appointed to fill his vacancy or the post of his deputy. But since Chief Dafe was chairman, the chief backed by the minister has not only refused to fill the post, but has abolished it. Kakake kuma jesese, avishawadano. In London, there's a fellow named S.A.O. Dafe, appointed only about a year ago. He's now Assistant London Representative. He is brother to the corporation's chairman. Apart from that, his only qualification is a Standard 4 certificate. He's on a salary of £900 plus, £520 house allowance, and £100 garage allowance. There are 2 officers responsible for processing applications for employment in the airways. They are both Igbos. A Yoruba man, Mr. W.I. Oshinaga, was recommended by his immediate heads of department for increment. This was turned down by the board for no assignable reasons. The same fate befell 4 other Yorubas. 7 Igbos were promoted by the corporation to senior positions carrying emoluments of £860 per annum against the departmental head's recommendations. In August this year, there was a total of 15 promotions to senior service grade. 11 went to Igbos, 3 to Yorubas, and 1 to the Midwest. Mr. S. Isatayo, a cargo supervisor who was engaged in 1944, is still in the junior service, even though he has trained most of the Igbos already promoted to senior staff in the airways. Another Yoruba, Mr. S.A. Tatoye, cargo supervisor who was engaged in 1951, is still in the junior service. This is in 1964. In the reservations and sales department, 3 Yorubas, M. Balogun, A.B. Lashekan, and M. Giwa, were superseded by Igbos. In the operations department, Mr. A.S.N. Ofo, an Igbo, who is now senior operations officer on £1,500, was engaged in 1955 with broken service and was promoted senior staff in 1962. Has superseded Mr. A. Owakinwumi, a Yoruba with continuous service, who was engaged in 1949 and now operations officer, still on £890 per annum. In the catering department, the man who was given the job of catering officer, Mr. J.E. Mbamali, possesses a secondary middle 3 and was until his appointment a steward at the Nigerian Hotel at Kaduna. At the Nigeria Hotel at Kaduna. At the time of his appointment, another Yoruba applicant, Mr. Oyefeso, an experienced caterer who had catering qualification in reputable catering institutions in England, was turned down for no assignable reason. I mean, it's Yoruba or Yefeso. What else do you expect? The Swiss Air wrote concerning Mr. Mbamali when being sponsored for training as follows, quote, "Considering that Mr. Mbamali has shown very little experience in catering, we propose to give him the same training as we give your junior staff," unquote. But Mr. Mbamali was appointed to senior staff on £1,315 per annum straight. The person that was not, he never even reached junior staff, but he's not the organ of everybody. His only accomplishment is where he's from. Somebody on YouTube says that BBC interview Amadou Bello granted is now clear. When you watch that interview, by the way, Amadou Bello was talking about what was happening in the Northern Region. Oh. It's worse in federal service. So let me tell you something. At the time, Nigeria had 5 civil services: the federal service, the one in the north, the west, the east, and the Midwest. These guys took the north. I mean, to be fair, Northerners did not go to school early enough. And that was what the Sadana was talking about in 1962, in that interview, that their boys are not going to school, and they even reduced the entrance qualification to get a lot of the people from the north into the civil service. But they took the federal civil service, which is what we're raising right now. They also took the Midwest. And the day you say enough is the day you become a bigot. catering service, so it has to be an Igbo man that will be in charge of food. Go chop poison because you have ethnicity. You wouldn't have to cook, sir. Other people will cook. You just be there, figurehead. In the engineering department, Messrs. FIC Akpapunam and MEJ, both Igbos on senior staff, have been made to supersede Messrs. A. Davis and A. Bangboshe, both Yorubas, still on junior services, with ARB approved license on F27, while both Akpunam and EJ have no such qualifications. In other words, you have no qualifications, but you are the organ of people that have communication. You now say it's grace and it's merit. It's everywhere. Accounts department. They ensure that the Igbo superseded people like A. Lawal, who was engaged 20 years prior, since 1944, with class 4 and 8 years teaching experience. There are 7 Igbos in the secretary's office. It was, the secretary, Mr. BSC Nzenwa, is of course an Igbo. He was called to the bar in 1959. He was appointed in preference to 3 better qualified Yoruba candidates. Mr. Shitabe, who holds the LLM degree and qualified in 1959, Mr. C. Shonukan, who was called to the bar in 1955, and Mr. F.O. Blaze, who qualified in 1943. Mr. Ezenwa was in 1962 on appointment, originally paid a salary of £2,075. He is now on salary of £3,100 from September same year, which was also made retrospective to the date of his appointment. If you know why people will not allow certain people to be in some positions, okay. And if you think this is just history, wait until I play you what happened in the House of Representatives last year of an institution in the East where they had less than 900 posts, less than 900. And about 30 of them were from Enugu and 811 were from Anambra. So if you think it's about the past, it's not the past. But if you don't believe me, when I'm done, I'll find that video and play it. But let's listen to this one. Why am I doing this? Because Achebe lied. Because Achebe's lies would also affect young Igbo people who would think people just hate them for no reason. That they were at the top using meritocracy. And Nigeria is against them because of their ethnicity, which is what Achebe said in his book. Nigeria was not against them because of their ethnicity. Nigeria is not against them because of their ethnicity. Certain things have been done. And certain things are being done. And no, we're not tribalists, we're not bigots. We just have to call these things out. Stop making it look as if you are a victim. You are not. You are the perpetrator of terrible things. May God forgive all of us. Let's go back to the book. In the AM's office, there are 5 Igbos and only 1 Yoruba. Flight stewards and stewardesses. Here, the corporation has a total of 53 flight stewards and stewardesses, 33 of whom are Igbos. Ordinary flight stewards. Anywhere you got to, you must fill that place with your ethnic people. But if anybody says anything, they are the ones who are tribalists. You are the ones who are moving and advancing based on meritocracy, because meritocracy means nepotism. Apparently, it's a synonym. The corporation has a total of 53 flight stewards and stewardesses, 33 of whom are Igbos, 12 Yorubas, 4 Midwesterners, and 4 Northerners. Out of 6 catering officers receiving training in Zurich and Switzerland, 5 of them are Igbos and only 1 Yoruba. We read about the nurse earlier, right? Whilst it was, in 1963, the post of publicity officers in the senior service sector of the airways was advertised. 2 Easterners were appointed and all Yoruba applicants were rejected. Whilst it was expedient to declare the expatriate senior operations officer redundant to pave the way for the immediate appointment of Mr. Ofo and Igbo, an Indian qualification licensed mechanic was appointed general manager, notwithstanding there was at all material times in the service of the company a Yoruba man by the name of Okoka with better qualifications, having had a first-class degree in Britain and more solid, varied international experience in the airlines, who was superseded. The Indian general manager should be requested to relinquish his appointment, and Mr. Okoka, the only Nigerian with undoubted requisite qualifications and experience, should be appointed forthwith. In other words, a Yoruba man who had more experience was jettisoned, and they had to go for an Indian with lower experience and an Igbo man to fill those posts. So the Igbo man, Mr. Ofo, filled the post. The other one was filled by an expatriate Indian who had lesser experience, whether qualifications or experience, than the Yoruba man. But guess what? He's not Igbo now. Why should they promote him? Now, let's have a peep into the Electricity Corporation. By the way, by the time you are done with this thing, you understand why Ojukwu said, and I read it earlier from the Nigerian Civil War by John de St. John, why they believed in the Eastern region that once they pulled out of Nigeria, Nigeria will crumble. They were in charge of airways, in charge of Port Authority, Railway Corporation, Electricity Corporation of Nigeria, ECN. They were in charge of all these things. The engineers, if they pulled out, everywhere is scatter. That was why they said that. By the way, nothing scattered. The places were occupied by others. And this whole threat of if we go, Nigeria is a lie. If you go, everywhere will be beautiful. I'm not saying you should go, Shao. But if you want to go, who am I to hold you back? It's not like I really doing me a favor, by the way. But I mean, I would like you to be here because the more the merrier. But don't threaten anybody with. There's nothing. Somebody else will take it. Let's have a peep into the Electricity Corporation. Now, let's have a peep into the Electricity Corporation. Within the period when an Easterner, Professor Eni Njoku, was chairman, Easterners were appointed and promoted to key posts. The Assistant General Manager, Electrical, is Igbo. The Controller of Accounts is an Easterner. The Personal Manager is an Igbo. And the Secretary is Igbo. We believe that the above facts are enough to establish the charges of tribalism, nepotism, and irregular practices which we set out to establish, and that any fair-minded person or persons, for the sake of the unity of Nigeria, must come to the conclusion that something must be done to right the wrongs that have been done. Ambassadorial appointment is another sphere in which Yorubas have not been fairly dealt with. So far, there are 9 ambassadors posted to key countries in Africa, Asia, Europe, and America, as against 3 Yorubas, 4 Northerners, and 2 Midwesterners. The worst of all is what I'm about to read right now is the worst. Everything is bad though, but this one is terrible. The Niger Post Company Limited, betting company again. Just pause. The Niger Post Company Limited, which is a quasi-government project, is an eyesore. Of the 7 members of the board of directors, 4 are Easterners, including Mr. Ogochukwu, the chairman, 2 Northerners, and 1 Midwesterners. Coupled with the fact that these directors are alleged to have allotted to themselves all the shares meant for the Nigerian public. We therefore demand that those people, irrespective of group of origin, who have been unjustifiably made to supersede their seniors should be downgraded to their right place in the service hierarchy. Number 2, that those who, irrespective of group of origin, have been unjustifiably superseded by their juniors should be raised to their right place in the service hierarchy. Number 3, that Dr. Ekejani and Chief Dafe should be removed forthwith from the chairmanships of the Nigerian Railway Corporation and the Nigerian Airways Corporation, respectively. Number 4, that those officers who are due for promotion but who are deliberately made to mark time until an Igbo man is discovered, who will be promoted to fill the higher office, should be promoted immediately to fill such offices. We Yorubas of the NCNC, they are not of the AG. They are the Yoruba, we are all together in LP kind of spirit. We Yorubas of the NCNC refuse to stand by and see our people in the services and corporations unjustly and unreasonably superseded by persons less qualified, either educationally or by length of service and experience. We refuse to allow arch-tribalists within the party to bring the party into shame and disrepute. and throw our people out of the scheme of Nigerian progress by denying them of offices for which they are better qualified than those appointed. We shall fail in our duty to the party if we condone the destruction of the very tenets that have made the NCNC what it is. We shall be condemned by history and our descendants if we look on whilst their future is being destroyed. Our very memory shall be hated if we fail to stand up by the principles of our party and rise up to destroy the tribalist cankerworm, which is fast destroying the party and the unity of the party. These are the facts so far which, within the very limited time at our disposal, we have been able to marshal. There are more revealing facts. We reiterate in conclusion that foremost in our mind in presenting this case is strengthening the solidarity of our great party, the NCNC, and the unity of our dear Nigeria. Guess who signed it? TOS Benson. I'm going to have a session on TOS Benson. I'll have a session on him. They dealt with that man in Ikorodu. They dealt with him. We'll talk about him later. TOS Benson, Akinfosile, that's the man that Mbadi was referring to in that paper. Fani Kayode is the one that they said they should have removed so that they can put Akinfosile. Olofoyeku, Elamuye, and ROA Akinjide, the same Chief Richard Akinjide, who told us about what happened on January 16th. Yes, Egbon Bobby Benson, yes, the musician. By the way, TOS Benson married an Igbo woman. It did not stop them from campaigning against him and saying they wanted an Igbo person to represent Ikorodu instead of him. Let's go back to General Achebe's book. I'm going to read again what General Achebe said, and I want you to put it in perspective. He says here, of particular dismay to the authors of the report were the situations in the Nigerian Railway Corporation, in which over half of the posts were occupied by Igbos, the Nigerian Ports Authority, and the Nigerian Foreign Service, in which over 70% of the posts were held by Igbos. Probably the pettiest of the accusations was the lamentation over the academic success of Easterners, who graduated in larger numbers in the 1965-66 academic year than their counterparts from the West. One I just read, outlining the dominance of the ethnic Igbo in key government positions in the Nigerian Railway Corporation and the Nigerian Ports Authority. The situation for ethnic Igbos working in Western Nigeria in particular, but all over Nigeria in general, had become untenable. This government-sanctioned environment of hate and resentment, created by self-serving politicians, resulted in government-supervised persecutions, terminations, and dismissals of Nigerian citizens based on their ethnicity. A young Igbo person sees this and believes. In most other nations, the success of an ethnic group as industrious as the Igbo will stimulate healthy competition and a renaissance of learning and achievement. In Nigeria, it bred deep resentment and both subtle and overt attempts to dismantle the structures in place for meritocracy in favor of mediocrity under the cloak of a need for federal character, a morally bankrupt and deeply corrupt Nigerian form of the far more successful affirmative action in the United States. The denial of merit is a form of social injustice that can hurt not only the individuals directly concerned, but ultimately the entire society. The motive for the original denial may be rubbish. This is nonsense. If you allow anybody to fibrate Kwelome Belejelo, you are the one at fault too. This is what I like to tell people: be fair. If I see an able person and let's say I have a job, for instance, and I see you and you're qualified and you can do the job, I will not say you should not. I will not give you the job because you are unable. I might have other reasons. So if you cannot do the job, for instance, if you have terrible character, you are out. I don't really care. But it's not going to be because you are able. Somebody says here on YouTube, little wonder they are quick to accuse others of nepotism. Yes. Where you will see nothing, they will see it because they understand what it is. They've been there, done that. When you watch the Sadowna, please give him some grace. And in case people here don't know what the Sadowna has said before, let me help. Take a listen to this.
One thing I've noticed, Premier, while I've been here, is that Northerners seem to have, I might almost call it, obsession about the Igbos. Could you perhaps explain that to me?
Well, the Igbos are more or less the type of people whose desire is mainly to dominate everybody. If they go to a village, to a town, they want to monopolize everything in that area. If you put them in a labor camp as a laborer, within a year they will try to emerge as headman of that camp, and so on. Well, in the past, our people were not alive to their responsibilities, because you can see from our northernization policy that in 1952, when I came here, there weren't 10 northerners in our civil service here. Then I tried to have it northernized, and now all important posts are being held by northerners.
Is this policy of filling all key posts in the north solely with northerners and not with other Nigerians a temporary or a permanent one?
In actual fact, what it is a northerner first. If you can't get a northerner, then we take an expatriate like yourself on contract. If we can't, then we can employ another Nigerian, but on contract too. This is going to be permanent, I should say, as far as I can foresee, because it will be rather dangerous to see the number of boys who are now turning from all our learning institutions coming out with having no work to do. I'm sure whichever government of the day might be, it will feel rather embarrassed, and it might even lead to bloodshed.
Doesn't this damage the idea, sir, of all people in all regions in Nigeria being fellow citizens of one country?
Well, it might, but you are, I mean, new to our region, but how many northerners are employed in the east or in the west? The answer is no. And if there are, there may be 10 laborers employed.
While the video was playing, I was reading the comment section. Then you have the regular, why not unite together, why not work together? One of those people would have loved us to work together. I want to play something from their region. Again, this is not about people are bad, remove them. That's not the point. The point is that you've got to understand history. You've got to see things for what they are, not for what you think they are. Because in your idealistic mindset, you'll be projecting this utopia that doesn't exist, and the person who is working with against you, so to speak, is grounded in reality. He knows exactly what he's doing. So let me play you something that happened recently.
0. How many are from Oyo State? Oyo State.
Okay, so
0.
we don't have
We don't have. How many are from Ekiti State?
Ekiti is
2. How many are from Enugu?
Enugu 65.
How many are from Cross River?
1, sir.
1.
Yes, sir.
How many are from Bauchi?
Kwara. Kwara is 2.
2.
Yes, sir.
And how many are from Kano?
We have 1 person from.
1 person from Kano.
Yes, sir.
And how many are from Anambra State?
Because it is domiciled.
How many are from Anambra State?
811, sir. 811, yeah.
811.
Yes, sir.
And how many are from Bayelsa?
How many? 1.
Eh?
One, sir.
One.
Yes, sir.
And madam, you say you have tried.
No, aside, I didn't meet all these numbers were there before I came.
That's why I said, you see, if I may ask, out of the 75, even if one state, one person per state, you will still have 36 and left with another balance. And yet other states have zero allocation. And you say you have tried.
Chair, somebody from this area, when they will give you a name, they will still give you from.
Madam, that one is not a due process. What we are saying is.
And when you are taking people, you consider the people you need their services.
Federal job vacancies, 886 openings. 886. Of those 886, 65 were from Enugu. 811 were from Anambra. Between those two states, you already have 876. Meanwhile, we have young Yoruba people who, again, this whole thing of one Nigeria, everything must work. I want to play you something from a very daft person. No apologies. Very, very daft, with the ability to speak very good English. I'm not going to mention the person's name, so no problem. Take a listen to this.
It's not Yoruba land. It's one Nigeria. It's not Yoruba land, Igbo land, Hausa land. This is one.
And we've been having
this issue over and over again. Like, I don't know why the Yorubas don't want to allow the Igbos to just like inclusiveness.
Àwọn tó ń torí wọn gbàwẹ̀ tán jọ̀sán láwọn ilé. Òyìnbó burúkú yẹn náà ni. They're just speaking English. They don't have anything upstairs, just English language, that's all. No understanding of self-preservation, no understanding of history, no understanding of consequences, just vibes and inshallah with very good English. Is it very good, sir? Okay, no, sir. People have to be thinking. Inclusiveness to my anything, don't have anything, only you cannot be so open to the point where you forget that there are boundaries to these things. You can't just say, oh, we are all together. What other inclusiveness do you want? The 6 states of the Southwest has people from different ethnic groups outside the Southwest working in our civil service. Meanwhile, some people state on their own, there's even one here, letterhead, number 1. Are we the one that should be doing inclusiveness, or the person who is what do you want? Inclusiveness, no, inclusiveness, no. We've got to be, be fair, but you've got to protect your space. Like all this nonsense about we are all one Nigeria, go and do it in the north. Meanwhile, they will not give you one obscure example in Anambra. So we have one person who was retained after NYC. Let us mention him. In other words, you have to be looking for Torchlight to be finding examples, to be seeing, oh, I have one person here, one person there, another person there, another person there. Oh, by the time you put everybody together in the entire region, you probably have like 10. I'm saying you have people in each state of the Southwest. And guess what? I don't have any problems with it. I think it's, you're Nigerians. Perhaps you've lived in those states. They consider you to be citizens, they consider you to be good enough to do the job, and you are citizens of the country. So it makes sense, right? But you don't even think that way. To make matters worse, you don't even allow people from the neighboring states to get jobs in your space, and you are shouting all over the place, inclusiveness. What do you mean? And as soon as you get one person there, open doors, open heavens for family members, but it's meritocracy. We are not serious. or maybe some people are serious. We don't know what's going on as Yoruba people, but we should, right? Love people. If you have opportunities for others, give it to them, no matter where they're from. If you find a Yoruba person that can do the job, let him do it. If you find an able person that can do it, let him do it. Ibibio, Hausa, Ibirom, Tiv, Bachama, Idoma, Efik, wherever they are from, if they can do the job. Let me tell you one story. I've never said this out in public before, but I'm going to say it tonight. A few years ago, I was having a production. It was in Abuja. And it was a musical, right? Stage production, it was musical. So my actors were singers, they're musicians, number of people in the cast. Oh boy, I invested a lot in these people, train them, and I'm glad I did. So towards the end, the main cast, she asked me a question. She said, I never thought about it. Her father, and I like to know my people. I like to know who I'm working with. Not for any, I just need to, it's the way it's the way I've been trained in the other, in my other life. So, her father is, I think, Igede. The mother is Igbo. She's the lead actress, or that's a lady. The lead actor, his own father is Igbo, so he's Igbo. So she now asked me, said, are you going to allow both of us, we are Igbos? I never thought of it. Some people that are working, the architect who built the set is Yoruba, but the keyboardist is Igbo. And then the bassist is Yoruba. For me, it didn't even occur to me, there were Northerners there as well. I think there were a couple of Northerners there, or someone from Delta. When she now asked me that question, okay, she was not saying she wants to appreciate me. I used to think that if you want to appreciate you, they should appreciate you for things that really matter. The person was like, she wants to appreciate me, for allowing all this kind of, the way the composition, the way the production, was going. We were about to stage the show, and that she doesn't know if I noticed that she's half Igbo, the other guy is Igbo. I'm like, you can act. You can say what I want you to say. If it was Yoruba was, for instance, definitely I'm not going to have them act because what the Malay saw. But if you could say it, why not? You can sing. You can do it. It's fine. I have no problems with anybody. But if I had chosen to put Yoruba person and you don't call me a tribalist, you are dumb. And I must be able to say it without you calling me a tribalist. I must be able to call you dumb. That's my own position. So if you find anybody that can do the job well, no matter where they're from, let them do it. But you must have that sense of Toba coin me to quarale me, right? To them say, put your people first in all things. Yes. My own problem is this: I cannot put you as a member of my family if you cannot do the work well. And from what we have seen from the reports we've read, the people that got the job did not get the job because they could do the job well. They got the job because they were Igbos. If you are from my place, I'll be favorably disposed towards you if you are good at what you do. Because at the end of the day, business requires expertise, not ethnicity. But if you have expertise and you're from my place, good. If you are not from my place and you have expertise, of course, most likely I'm going to consider you. The point is that all the way I'm talking right now, and that's how you do it in a normal, sensible place. But for these things that we've read so far, competence doesn't matter at all. Meritocracy doesn't matter. It's about ethnicity. It is the one who gets ahead using nepotism that turns around telling you that competency you are dealing with doesn't care about competence. It's thinking about ethnicity. But it's the one that calls you a tribalist and you say, he must be right. He's not right. I've been speaking all the while. Oh. Can you hear me now? Is it better now? I apologize for the long break. Motin Ruejola Taro. Is it better? Hello?
Okay.
I apologize. I've been speaking all the while. I was using the other device, and I apologize if you couldn't hear me. It's probably the network. So yeah, that was Achebe, Meritocracy or Nepotism: The Truth About Igbo Dominance. That video is available on YouTube. There are two parts. The first part is about 25 minutes long, and it's right there. The second part will be up later this evening. I'm trying to see if I can get the full second part on TikTok as well. It's over 50 minutes, almost 1 hour long, but I think it's worth it. So you'll be able to watch that on YouTube much later this evening, maybe the next couple of hours. What did I say? Yeah, so I was saying that, and it's important to repeat this, that none of these things is being done to denigrate a group or, make it look as if you're demonizing an ethnic group, say Igbos are bad and things like that. It's just that personally I hate to be manipulated, right? Nobody is perfect. No ethnic group is perfect. But you see, you can't hide your imperfections by projecting them onto others and then accusing others of doing the things that you did. And the problem that I see in Nigeria is that we, especially Yoruba people, and especially the younger ones, we have had to essentially apologize for things we didn't do and our fathers did not do. Our fathers were not perfect, but they didn't do this nonsense that they're saying that they did. Their fathers did it. And the fathers who did it decided to write terrible books. E.g., There Was a Country by Achebe. I don't mind talking about that book. By the way, there are some good things in the book. There's no book that's totally bad. However, you can't read that book as a young Igbo person and think you are liked in Nigeria. And that's why I say, when you listen to the elders from certain places, you just wonder if they even have the future in mind. Like, the young people are growing up thinking they are hated. The rhetorics they are hearing, you hear it from the richest of them, you hear it from the most educated, you hear it from the illiterate, you hear it from everybody. In other words, it's a religion. It's an identity, and it has nothing to do with your level of education or your status in society. It's about something you believe to be true, even if you have no evidence. It's worse than a religion. At least for religions, they can still tell you that faith, evidence, and things like that. This one, there's nothing. And Achebe was so bold that in his book, he actually referred to the white paper that was published in 1964. He must have thought that nobody would be able to read that book. Like, it doesn't exist. Probably just existed in his own space. Therefore, he could just say whatever he wanted to say and assume that no one will be able to find it. Well, we have that document. And we read the document today. And if you want to read it on your own, please check out Redomi Global on Telegram. You'll find that document there, right? And so you'll be able to download that. So join Redomi Global on Telegram. And if you want to buy some of the books that we've been talking about, you can find those ones on Redomi Books. The books will be shipped to you wherever you're in the world. And somebody reached out to me earlier this week asking for a particular Yoruba book. There's another Telegram channel just for Yoruba content. That's Redomi Kariaye. You know, the important thing is that these materials are not, you know, hidden in the sense that you can't find them, in the sense that, oh, they're in a vault or something. They're just hidden in plain sight. And I hope that our generation will be that generation that will change the narrative about if you want to hide anything from a black man, put it in a book. The books are out there. The information is out there. And I think a lot of people who attack us and say things about what we're saying, oh, you're lying, it's propaganda, is, number one, these are people who cannot read. Not that they don't, they can't. Number two, you know, these are people who would rather hold on to the lies regardless of the evidence in front of them because their identity is rooted in the lies. And I'm saying this to say that, especially if you're a Yoruba person, don't allow anybody to gaslight you with all this nonsense. It's just rubbish, right? Just, again, be fair to everybody, love everyone, do what you can do to everybody, but don't let anybody manipulate you with sob stories, right? If I have opportunities and you are, I don't care where you're from, if you can do the job, we'll work together. But I'm not going to give you that job because of where you're coming from or because you want to manipulate me like there's something that I owe you or that Yoruba people owe you or that Nigeria owes you. Nobody owes anybody. Nobody even owes me anything, let alone me saying that you owe me anything. Whatever I receive is the grace of God. But you can't be a people who have used nepotism to get ahead in every time you had opportunity in Nigeria, whether at the federal level or at regional levels, or even in private entities. You can't be from that group and then think that for some reason you can manipulate the rest of us. That's what this is about. No hard feelings, but things have to be said, and hopefully we're able to do it with respect. All right. I don't know if anybody has any questions before we go. Today's Tuesday. We have the sessions every weekday, Mondays to Fridays, 1 p.m. Ife time, West African time. So we'll be here again tomorrow. That'll be a fuller session though, because then we'll have, you know, we have a document we're considering. It's called The Educated Elite in the Nigerian Society by E.B. Ayandele. And like I said yesterday, it's a book to for an equal opportunity of Basbos, insulted all of us, including our own elders. But I think it's important to read some uncomfortable materials because they also help you, you know, gain insight about the things, about the events. And you can also critique them. You know, it's not always right because it's written. Apparently, you can tell from Achebe's books, a person can write a book, a person can be an interesting author. And maybe they should just be writing fiction instead of writing history because their history is just made up. But yeah, that's that about that. Somebody says, please, how can I get the white paper document? I don't know how else to explain. No, that means I don't know how else to explain. Just go once you get there, you see a section on learning. You see a learning section. Abi, okay, let's do it this way. Let me open it on my device so that I can guide you. So let's start by downloading the app. Download the Telegram app. Right. I'm going to type a link in the comment section. You can copy that link. All right. I'll do it for Telegram. Oh, shoot. I'd like to do the same for YouTube. So give me a second. So it's t.me. So you can put this, by the way, you can put this in your browser. All right, just put the URL in your browser. And once you click on it, it will automatically take you to Telegram. So you want to have the app on your device so that it's easy for you to do what you have to do. Give me a second. Let me type it for folks on YouTube as well. All right. So once you click on that, I hope you can see it. You sure? I hope it shows. Please. So once you get there, you know, go to there's Redomi. There's Global. Okay, Redomi Global. You see learning materials, books, and resources. Click on that, and then you can search. There's there are three dots there. Click on the three dots. Click on search, type what you want, or just go to you find your way. It's something that it's easy to. Redomi Books. Oh, Redomi Books is for books that you want to buy. So that one, you go there, you see the book you want to buy, you can screenshot or just copy the book title and the details there, and then send it to Redomi Realm. There's a the information to, so they'll tell you, how to get the books across to you. That's for Redomi Books, but Redomi Global is for everybody. Do you own the Redomi Books? I'm affiliated. Yes, I'm associated with Redomi Books. Yes, I am. So the idea basically is that some of the books that we read, some of them, to be fair, some of them are out of print. But there's some that we have. For instance, we're doing stuff on OWL. There are different books on OWL that I think everybody should have. Voice of Wisdom, Voice of Reason, Voice of Courage. I'm looking at my shelf, so that will help me to remember. It will also come. Thought on the Nigerian Constitution, Path to Nigerian Freedom, The Strategy and Tactics of the People's Republic of Nigeria, our autobiography, My Early Life. Which one again? Oh, my March Through Prison, Adventures in Power, Traverse of Democracy. All these books you'll find on that channel. All right. So does anybody have a question? Someone on YouTube says Ademule Egun's wife was ruthlessly murdered too, and she was 8 months pregnant. Was irrelevant to their calculations. Sad. Cool. Well, thank you very much for, helping us in the comment section on YouTube. Thanks for the information that you always put out there. Ademule Egun was murdered for his competence in comparison to Ironsi. You're right, ma'am. Please let this live be accessible after live podcast. Olakunle Mosobalaji. I apologize. So I can't forget Benani. So yes, the live is going to be accessible. Just go to the live section on YouTube. You'll be able to listen to today's live session and the others we've had. And also later today, the video of the part 2 will be uploaded on YouTube. Any questions, any addition before we close? Tomorrow we'll be here 1 p.m. Ife time, West African time, and we're going to be discussing the politics of the First Republic, but we won't go deep into it. We're just going to continue from where we stopped yesterday, focusing on that particular book, Educated Elites in the Nigerian Society by E.B. Ayondele. Somebody says, Prof, seems the Uzo girl is related to the Njoku. I saw the surname of the Uzo girl, but I don't know if she's related, but it's possible. So there are a number of Njoku. There's one Njoku in transport. There's one Njoku that was the VC. I don't know which one she's related to. But, I mean, yeah, I don't even understand. Are your books on Redomi digital downloads? They will be delivered to you anywhere you are in the world. They are hard copies. They're not digital downloads. They are not digital downloads. They are all hard copies, right? So, thank you very much. And they are not my books. They are books from, they are, okay, you know what? Since people are asking about this channel, let me even read some things to you about it. There are a number of categories. You have political science and history. You have Obafemi Awolowo books, biographies, faith, Nigeria Civil War, Yoruba books, African series, Busui Ori's books. Those ones are my books. And then you have children's books. Now, my books are, those ones are actually electronic. But if you want a hard copy of my books, you have to go to Amazon. But my books, the ones I have right now, I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have about 7 books out. But most of them are on faith. The only one that's not on faith is the one about, that one is a story. It's a poetry. Oshumesa, 9 months. But you can download those ones. You can get those ones on Seller if you want the electronic copy. But if you want the hard copy, you have to go to Amazon. But please just go on the website, or just go on the Telegram channel. You might find something you like. And there's also a way you can search. So maybe you have a particular topic in mind. You can just go there, search for it, and hopefully you'll be able to find it. And once you do, you'll be able to communicate with the handle that posts, which is Redomi Realm. Once you communicate with the handle, then they can, direct you appropriately. Thank you very much for a fantastic session. Will I say nobody's asking any questions today? Okay. Tomorrow we'll be here 1 p.m. Ife time, West African time. We have this every weekday, Mondays to Fridays. I want to thank everybody who has been, with us since we started. Everyone who has liked, who has typed, who has shared, whether on TikTok or on YouTube. We didn't go on Facebook today, but we're going to do that tomorrow. All right. So regardless of the platform you're on, thank you very much for your support. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the heart me's and the roses, and thank you. And for those of us who want to support us financially, please reach out. Tomorrow I'm going to put out the account details, but if you want to reach out, if you want to support, please reach out to me. Done. Thank you very much. Somebody says, Prof, you are closing earlier today. Yes, we close early on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And that's also why I don't come on camera, so I can, we can do other things. Anyway, yeah, so let's close early today. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, I try to close latest 3:30, and then Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays we can drag it out on. We can drag it up until 7 or 7:30. 7, to be honest. I think it's a lot better that way. But thank you very much. Right? Thank you for your support. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and I hope you're what's the word? You are armed with the truth, not to hurt people, not to disdain or talk on anybody, but to protect yourself from manipulators and other pobi, right? And it's important to have these things. All right, fantastic session we've had today. Thanks to everyone who has made it successful. Thanks Empress. Thanks Limehouse. Thank you, Big Inca. Thank you, Perizim. Everyone, Grok, thanks everybody. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for the heart me. Donsi says she's not. Oh, the Njoku girl. People are signing petitions over that thing. And I think they should, because it's just enough, man. Nobody is telling nobody not to thrive in Yoruba land, but you can't just slap people and tell them you are patting them. It makes no sense. I will tell them it's a pat on the back. So yeah, how people fix up, but even if they don't, just stay guarded and stay informed. Thanks for a fantastic session. Before we go, we're going to play the anthems. So every time we have these sessions, we play the Yoruba anthem and the Nigerian national anthem and the Yoruba anthem. But for those on YouTube, we're going to have to let you go because we always have copyright issues when we play these songs on YouTube. But we're going to play it on TikTok. So please, let's enjoy, sing along. Nigeria is a great country. Yoruba land is a blessed land. And that was our experience. We do not live in a zoo. We live in a fertile, prosperous, progressive, advancing, developing, that will be developed land. Yoruba land is blessed. So we'll sing that song before we go. So YouTube guys, thank you very much for being here. I'll see you again tomorrow at 1. Well, 1 p.m. we'll spend some time playing some music on TikTok, and then we'll hook you guys in much later. Well, thank you very much for your support. Have a lovely evening. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless you. All right, for our Lori Ero TikTok, it's time to listen to our anthem. Allow our YouTube people to go first, because we don't want to have copyright. Odabang.